reality, or if you've ever been that person in grief, the feelings that you have, the words that you express, trying to find to express your pain, that's okay. God wants honesty. When we're in the adjacent lane with someone, we have to make sure that we allow that. I've been with people sometimes and somebody's trying to help them from church and somebody says something that you would think, whoa, lightning is going to strike. People go, oh, you don't mean that. And I want to go, yes, they do. They mean that in this pain, in this moment of grief. They mean everything that they are saying, and it's okay. God still considered David a man after his own heart when David would say, you've abandoned me, you've dropped the ball. You didn't do what you promised. All of the things that he would say in his pain were okay because it's grief. And one of the first things we need to learn is just to be honest.
Happy Sunday to everyone. Bon dimanche à nous tous. Sunday right now. I'm listening to 89.5 radio FM.
He's saying it. Being honest. Help number 2, I think, is then in verse 24. As he moves on, or verses 21 to 24, he says all this, and I can imagine him pausing and putting his pen down. I'm like, man, I think he's worked up a sweat. He's just venting. He is grief, and this is pouring out. And I don't think he just writes this all the time. I think this took a while because he just kept trying to think of bad things to say. You know, and he's just like, God shooting arrows into my heart. And he's making me gravel, and he just keeps thinking of these things. And then I think he takes a break, and he takes a breath. And then he says, verse 21, yet I will still dare to hope when I remember this. The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning. I'll say to myself, the Lord's my inheritance. Therefore I will hope in him. The Lord is good to those who depend on him, to those who search for him. So it is good to wait quietly for salvation from the Lord. There will be a time after we express the pain of our grief that we move from what we feel to what we know. And that's different for every person. And if we're in the adjacent lane, we have to be careful that we don't start trying to move people there too soon. You know, in what I do, I get to walk that adjacent lane a lot. In early years, long time ago, when ministry first started, I thought it was my job to move people into that second phase quickly. So
there's a lot of people like that. Try to move you so quick. That's where you fail. When you're not ready for something, don't let nobody push you to do something that you're not ready to do. Akite moun force ou fè yon bagay ou pa vle fè. Sou vle servi bon Dieu, c'est ou pou konnen pou servi bon Dieu avec tout ou même. Pa kite se moun kap di ou ki jan pou servi bon Dieu. Depi se moun kap di ou ki jan pou servi serviteur lan, ou pa bi jam rive vre. Ou pa bi jam vle, ou pa bi jam sentou à l'aise, ou pa bi jam nan position, ou pran soda dweye avec bon Dieu, ou pa la vre, parce que te forcé ou pour mettre tête ou dans position. Yeah? Don't let nobody force you to do anything.
Jeremiah takes a lot of time to vent his emotion, but then he moves into the second part, the second phase of that. Help number 3, I think, is the fact that in this transition that we understand that grief is a chapter, but it's not the end of the book. I know there are times when we walk in that grief that we think the rest of my life will feel like this. And I think Jeremiah reminds us that if we move from what we feel to what we know, we are basically giving that to God to redeem. And then God does something with that. And I've seen that so many times in people's lives, and you've seen it in your lives, that there's something that God is working in our pain. And in the moment, we don't look for it. In the moment, we're just angry and we just hurt. And then we move to what we know. And then we process and we move with our grief, and we're able to look back and see what God would do. And we never wish that we'd go through it again. We don't wish that anybody else would go through it, but we see the power of what God does in that. I've seen that in people's lives in this church. It's been about 16 years since Daniel Starks was killed in an accident. Jerry and Kathy's parents. I don't know, I've even seen Jerry this morning. I don't know if they're here. He was a police officer, killed in line of duty. Tragic. To stand in that pain, to walk in that adjacent lane. Kid grew up in our youth group. A lot of grief. saw Jerry and Kathy process through that and allow God to redeem that. A couple years later, I'm called to Cape Coral Hospital emergency room. Family, they weren't connected to a church, had just lost a little boy to drowning. And I'm standing in the room with Mom, and who walks in? Jerry and Kathy. They had made themselves available to other parents when they lost a child to step into the adjacent lane and to walk with them. And I've seen them do that again and again. When we move from what we feel to what we know, it allows God to begin in time to redeem that pain, and that chapter becomes an important chapter of our life. It's not the end of the book, but it's a chapter that we hold on to, and God uses it to touch other people. This video we showed you a few minutes ago, we have that ministry because Becky Wilcoxon, who lost her husband years ago, started that grief share here. And now there's a connection group called Grief Buddies and this grief share for the holidays, because she didn't just walk away and say, this is where I'm going to live. She processed through that and let God begin to use that chapter. When we have the grief, when we're in the grief lane, God's okay for us to be in the grief lane. And then for us to begin to proclaim what we know of his faithfulness. And to let him take that and redeem that, so that it's not the end of our book, but it's an important chapter as we move on through our lives. Help number 4. I want to say this right. We move through grief. We move with grief. We don't move on from grief. Never say that. I don't think any of you would, but I've heard people say to somebody after months, hey, it's time to move on. It's one of the worst things you can say to somebody who's gone through a time of grief. There's no moving on from grief. There's moving with it. There's moving forward. There's moving through it. But we don't move on from it. The people of Israel did not forget what had happened to them in Babylon. They had to move on through the process of holding on to what they knew. And that's why Jeremiah, I love that part where he says the mercies are fresh every morning. I think for a while he had to get up every morning and tell himself that. I think we go to bed often when we're in the grief lane, in the emotion of our grief, and we get up every morning and say, God, I'm going to proclaim again what I know, because I know my feelings are just my emotions are there. But I'll proclaim what I know, and I know that you'll redeem, and I know your mercies are new, and I know your faithfulness is there. The 3 lanes that we find ourselves in life, the importance of that in all is that we know God, that we know of his faithfulness, that we've developed that relationship with him. And man, I encourage you, if you're in the grief-free lane right now, this is a great time to build that relationship with God, because there will be a time, all of us will go through a time of grief at some point. All of us will have a loved one that will go through a time of grief at some point, and we will be able to step beside them and to process with them and to love on them. But when grief comes, Jeremiah gives us this great example. It's okay. It's okay to feel the emotion of grief, and then to move into the knowledge of God, and then to allow him to redeem that, so that at some point that chapter of grief is something that he redeems and begins to bless other people. Let's say these verses together out loud. The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning. The Lord is good to those who depend on him, to those who search for him. Let's pray. Father, there are people in this room that are in the grief lane. And Father, I pray that they will see the healing part of expressing their emotions and know that you're okay with
That's
that.
why my eyes is not
Father, I
closed,
pray
but
that
I'm
we
in the
will always
prayer.
be willing to step into the adjacent lane with someone and to walk through that grief with them. And I thank you for how this church does that in so many ways, so many connection groups and relationships, and how people are blessed by that. Father, in all situations, I pray that we will recount your goodness and know what we know, that your mercies are new and they're fresh every day, and that all things can work together for good. And the most horrific grief we walk through, you will someday use to bless other people and to honor you. If we give it to you, you will redeem it, and we thank you for that. Father, we thank you for your word. Forgive us for the parts that we like to skip over, because we know that they will speak to us and they will bless us. Thank you for the instruction, the wisdom that comes from spending time in it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
You've been listening to the preaching ministry of First Christian.
All right, guys, that was the end of the preaching. I got in the middle of it. I usually listen to FM1 in the morning. It's 89.5. I usually listen to it every morning. Sometimes I put my own Christian music on the car, but sometimes I listen to it. And this morning I opened it at the right time. I have work today. I usually go to church on Sunday morning. Well, today I had to go to work, so I opened the radio, and it was the time the pastor was preaching. Just like he was saying in the preach, don't let nobody force you guys to do anything that you're not ready for. Because when you do something that you're not ready for, it will crumble in a minute. It won't stand for long because you was forced to do it. You didn't do it because you want to do it. You did it because somebody forced you to do it. Pa kite person force nou fè yon bagay ke nou pa vle fè, paske si nou fèl, bagay sa pa prete kampe pou yon minute, lap saute tombe, paske sa fè sa, c'est paske se force ou te force ou fèl. Si te pas forcé ou te force ou fèl, c'est ou même avec l'Éternel qui te prend mais ou te fèl, il t'a prêté. Mais c'est forcé ou te force ou fèl, comme ça, bagay yo force ou fè, pas jamais dire. Bagay ou fait avec propre cœur, avec propre esprit ou méthode disponible pour faire li ap réussi. Mais sou qui te c'est un monde qui a forcé ou pour faire un bagay que ou pas vle faire, ça va arriver loin. Li pap. M'gen exemple. Mwen moun ke ou forcé faire un bagay, il pas arriver loin. Et si moun nan décide pour le faire, pour le servir bon Dieu avec propre tête pâle, m'kwe la privé. Yes, la privé. Mais si t'es forcé ou à l'église, oui, ou joue dans l'église ou à l'église, mais moun qui dans l'église a forcé pour servir bon Dieu, c'est pas ou décider pour faire, c'est vle ou pour faire. Mais si t'es ou même qui vient l'église ou continue à l'église ou dit année ça moi même moi vle servir bon Dieu pour toute reste vie, moi prend année pour commencer à bêtu ou à privé. Ou à privé côté ou vle aller. Pas quitter ces monde qui force au servir bon Dieu, mais prend ça au sérieux servir bon Dieu pour tête tout. Et pas gen monde qui ka bluffer bon Dieu. Connaît sous bluffer bon Dieu c'est tête ou bluffer parce que li pi grand, li gen contrôle sur tout bagay qui gen bagay bon Dieu fait pour ou pas même ouais ça même. Ou pas ouais ça vrai. Ou seulement ouais bagay l'arriver ou ap demander comment ça fait arriver? Qui est moyen pour ça arriver? Ou pas et pas ou pour ça t'arriver, mais c'est grâce bon Dieu fait. Bon Dieu fait yon grâce. Li fait yon grâce parce que il créé ou c'est pal. Li choisi pour faire grâce ça. C'est comme ça tout ou même sous choisi pour servir bon Dieu à peut-être pas ou après ici parce que li déjà gen contrôle tout bagay. Mais c'est depuis forcer ou faire chéri ou pas privé ou pas privé vrai. Ou privé dans un moment que côté ou vinn fatigué ou nan mou a vinn tellement faible ou pas vle continuer faire ça ou ta dwe faire. You not gonna make it if somebody force you to do something. Well, guys, have a blessed Sunday. Hope everything go well for everyone that was watching this. And don't forget to pray for me also. Thank you. Love you guys. Bye.